So in this video I'm going to show you how to find simple percentages of a quantity. So we'll start with 10%. Find 10% of 80. Well, what you have to remember with 10%, 10% is 1/10. We can find 1/10 of anything dividing by 10. Dividing by 10 is fairly easy. If we have a number with a naught on the end, we simply take it off. So 10% of 80 will be 8. Or another way of dividing by 10 is to move our decimal point one place to the left. So for 10% of 85, there's no naught to take off, but if we think of the point being there, we can put a naught there if we want. We don't have to, but we must move our point here. So 10% of 85 is 8.5. And 10% of 4, well, our point would be there, so we move it to the left-hand side of the 4, maybe put a naught in just to show there's nothing there, and we write it as 0.4. So there's some examples of finding 10%. Now what about finding 50%? 50% of something is a half. We find a half by dividing by 2. So these are fairly simple numbers. We should be able to do these quite easily in our head. So 50% of 20 is a half of 20, which is 10. 50% of 200 is a half of 200, which is 100. And 50% of 0.6 is a half of 0.6, which is 0.3. Now, finally, we'll look at 25%. Now, 25% is a quarter. If we're good at dividing by 4, we can divide these numbers by 4 and get our answer. If not, another way of doing this is to say a quarter of something can be found by dividing by 2 and dividing by 2 again. So let's try that on 40. If we divide 40 by 2, we get 20. If we divide 20 by 2, we get 10. So 25% of 40 is 10. So 25% of 200, half of 200 is 100, and half of 100 is 50. Okay, so I'll say that again. Half of 200 was 100, and half of 100 is 50. So finally, we'll look at 0.8. We use the same method. 0.8, half of that is 0.4, and half of 0.4 is 0.2. So 25% of 0.8 is 0.2.